Got a question for you. What's the most important thing for Tennessee's offense this fall? Is it the return of the explosive plays or to be better in the red zone? It's an easy answer, and I'm going to tell you right now on a Thursday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for being here, making us your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. We are free and available whenever you get your podcast. It's live on YouTube, and of course, wherever you find your podcast, you listen. You can download us. Again, free and available, and appreciate you guys for being here every day. Couldn't do the show without you. Check out the Locked On Podcast newsletter as well, to where you can stay up to date on everything going on. Today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, where new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Fun show today. Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered is going to stop by for segments 2 and 3, talking all things Tennessee, Arkansas, super regional action. Don't want to miss that coming up in segments 2 and 3, a little baseball talk, and then kicking things off here, and it's going to be a two-part conversation. I'll do it on Friday's show as well a little bit. Kind of going back and looking at some of the New Year's resolution story for Tennessee football that I wrote about on January the 1st, but about this explosive plays and red zone efficiency. Which one's got to be more? And that's a simple question for me, and that's kind of where we're going to start. So many times we get asked, and it's talked about on social media, on Twitter, X, whatever. It's been years, still can't get that right. It's been talked about on message boards, on Facebook, around the water cooler at work, in the bar, at family functions, at kids' birthday parties, anywhere where a group of people are gathered talking Tennessee football. One of the topics that come up or questions is, what's wrong with the offense? What's going on with the offense? Why doesn't the offense look the same than it did the first couple of years? And I think there's a number of factors for that. First and foremost, I think the easy one would be look at who the quarterback was. Hendon Hooker for the first 2 years, Joe Milton for year 3, Nico Iamaleava for year 4. Okay, Joey Halsley has been the offensive coordinator for the last 2 years, whereas the first 2 years it was Alex Golesh. Okay, well there's that as well. So those are two things I think we look at, but also I think it's important to keep in mind that over the 4-year run that we're talking about, the team has evolved, the team has grown. And the team overall has gotten better, which means your defense has gotten better. Your run game has always been good, but you really relied on your run game last year. But as you kind of evolve there, those can overcompensate for areas of your game to where it might be lacking a little bit, whereas the offense was overcompensating for the defense for the first couple of years. So, again, any way you want to spin it, I think your roster continues to get better, and you're a playoff team last year. I mean, it's not like it's been horrible, but you love to get the high-flying, explosive plays, high-scoring offenses back. That'd be great. So the biggest issue in that regard the last 2 years has been a lack of explosive plays and red zone efficiency. We'll start with the lack of the explosives, okay? I referenced this, I think it was on yesterday's show, and I said, well, I'm going to go find these numbers and pull it back up again. Here they are. The first 2 years in Josh Heupel's offense, okay, there were 153 plays that went 20 yards or more. There were 92 plays that exceeded 30 yards or more in 2021 and 2022. So I'll say that again. Those first 2 years, 153 plays of 20 yards or more, 92 plays of 30 yards or more. It's not bad. The past 2 seasons in 23 and 24, the plays of at least 20 yards shrunk down to 111, and the plays of at least 30 yards fell to 52 combined. So you went from plays of 20 yards more down the field the first 2 years, 153 of them, to 111 of them. Plays of 30 yards or more down the field the first 2 years, you went 92 of them, okay, to 52 of them. Hendon Hooker, the quarterback, he completed a combined 50 passes on 123 attempts for 23 touchdowns and 2 interceptions those first 2 years in the system of passes 20 yards or more down the field. So 20 yards or more, the deep. Pro Football Focus, we do it every fall. We kind of look at the passing yards 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 or more. You got deep, intermediate, short, right, or behind the line of scrimmage. That deep section right here is what we're talking about. Again, Hendon Hooker was 50 for 123, okay? 23 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, in that regard, placed 20 yards or down more the field, 20 yards or more down the field in 2021 and 2022. Joe Milton and Nico Iamaleava have combined to go just 34 for 111 with 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions the past 2 seasons. So the touchdowns have still kind of been up there a little bit, 23 to 18, but the interceptions have grown from 2 to 7. And then just the completion percentage, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but 50 of 123 is a much better percentage than 34 of 111. Okay, so that's the explosive plays a little bit. Also, in 2022, the Vols ran 945 plays against Power 4-5 opponents, averaging 41 points per game. In 2024, Tennessee ran 958 plays against the same competition, averaging 2 fewer touchdowns at 28 points per game. 2022 was kind of an anomaly. Jalen Hyatt routes on air. I recognize that. But the explosive plays have got to get better. They got to get better. So that's the explosive plays part of this conversation. Now let's talk about red zone efficiency, and this is where I think number one, it has to be better, and it's no question. Okay, in 2024, Tennessee finished the year 52 of 63 in the red zone, but only 39 touchdowns. That's a touchdown rate of 62%. That was in 2024. So you had 63 red zone trips. You only had 39 touchdowns. It's not good. In 2023, Tennessee went 45 of 54 in the red zone, 45 scores, 28 of which were of touchdowns, so 62% again. So you actually scored more touchdowns this past year than you did in 2023, but you were still at the same 62% in terms of red zone efficiency. You compare this again to the highest of the highs in 2022. Tennessee was 53. Wow, okay. Tennessee scored 53 touchdowns on 63 trips into the red zone. That is 84%. Holy moly. Goodness gracious. So which one's more important? To the casual fan, you're probably going to say explosives. I want to see highlight reels. I want to see on Sports Center. I want to see this. I want to see that. I want to see. I do too. But at the end of the day, when you get into the red zone, goodness gracious, those percentages, 62% touchdown rate in the red zone, that is not good enough. Needs to be at least 75%. At least it's got to be 75%. In my opinion. So which one's more important? To me, it's red zone efficiency. These explosive plays can get you either into the end zone or down into the red zone, but what are you going to do once you get down there? And so I was really excited for this year because I thought Nico Iamaleava could use his legs, kind of like Hendon Hooker did a little bit. You had to respect Hendon Hooker's legs. That's why the windows, though tighter down there, you have a backside defender that's sitting there waiting because you've got to respect the ability for Hendon Hooker to run the football. I thought Nico was going to get a little bit of that this year. Of course, Nico's not here. Joey Aguilar could. Athletic guy. Okay, we'll see. Jake Merkler, I don't know. But it's going to be intriguing. Tennessee has got to fix this part for sure. We're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to take a little bit more from this story that I'm looking back from New Year's Day, some resolution story that I wrote. Another one is limit the penalties. Another one is get home sacks. And another one is road issues. So, there's some really good stats in here that I'm going to pull for tomorrow's show as well. But I think explosive plays, red zone efficiency. Another one I had here was play younger guys. They did that a little bit this year. I thought was pretty good. They're going to do that this year with David Sanders for sure. But also getting home, not just getting in the backfield and being disruptive, bringing down the quarterback, and then most importantly, fixing the road issues. Because if Tennessee doesn't win a game at Alabama or at Florida, this is probably not going to be the year that you want to be watching as a fan, in my opinion. So, some good stuff there, but I thought that was interesting. Would love to hear from you. Please tell me, which one's more important to you, explosive plays or red zone efficiency, to kind of get this offense back to where it needs to be. Love to hear from you, all that and more, right here on Locked On Vols. We'll continue this conversation. We'll talk road woes. We'll talk penalties, how this offense can get better on tomorrow's show as well, before we get you set for more super regional talk with Tennessee and Arkansas. That's what we're going to do next year. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, he's going to join the show, give his thoughts on the Tennessee Regional, what's to come, Tennessee Super Regional with Arkansas. We talk a little bit of Vanderbilt as well. Good conversation here with Chris Phillips. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's in-game shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I love looking at some college football futures, win totals, SEC championship odds, college football playoff odds, national championship odds, Heisman odds. So much fun. Tennessee's all over those a little bit in some way, shape, or form. You can put some coin down on a futures bet for college football, just like you can for the NBA playoffs. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up right now. Head on over to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Again, first $5 bet over at FanDuel.com, place that bet. If it wins, $200 in bonus bets. Not bad. You can do a whole lot with that on the safe, secure, easy-to-use app or over at FanDuel.com. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, talking Tennessee and Arkansas in the Super Regional play. First and foremost, Chris, what is your overall thoughts on how regionals have panned out? A lot of upsets. I think, let's see, 7 of the top national seeds no longer in the dance. A lot of SEC teams coming up short, but makes it for exciting baseball for sure. And, we'll get to it, but obviously nothing more exciting than Tennessee at Arkansas this weekend.
Yeah, Eric, it was a wacky weekend. I mean, I think pick your upset, right? And it was dare I say, it wasn't a great weekend for the league, right? It was a rough look from the standpoint of, the number 1 overall national seed doesn't even make the regional final, which I think for me was the biggest surprise. Again, there were many others, but, Vandy not even getting to that regional final, kind of their worst nightmares realized with the offense not showing up, kind of reverting back to what we saw earlier in the season. Texas falling in their own regional to UTSA. And I mean, that was one I went as far as to pick the upset in that one, but still actually seeing it play out and seeing it happen. The team that won the regular season title and was the best team in college baseball for what felt like 90% of the season, they fall. The way Georgia's season ended was gut-wrenching. Ole Miss, obviously, on the home field. So I think both these teams we're going to talk about, Tennessee and Arkansas, just glad that post-bloodshed they are still standing, right? Arkansas had a pretty stress-free weekend, really swept through their regional. Auburn was another one that very ho-hum, very business-like. I mean, it seemed like everybody else was just kind of fighting through the gauntlet, and that's what we love about baseball, man. I said it last week before the regionals got going. We love baseball because of the upsets, because of the uncertainty. You just cross your fingers and pray to God that it doesn't happen to your team. Yeah. Obviously, and in Tennessee went down to the wire, and they win that big Monday game, and that's the reason we're here talking. So really excited for it. I mean, it's set up an incredible super regional matchup. The only thing I hate about it, Eric, I'm sure you do as well, and many others out there, is that I'd much rather see Arkansas and Tennessee playing in Omaha. It's unfortunate both of these will not be able to go. We only get one. So SEC trying to get 3 teams in Omaha. Certainly they're guaranteed one, but LSU, West Virginia, and Auburn, Coastal Carolina need those 2 to take care of their business. But it'd be a great weekend in Fayetteville, no doubt.
If you'll allow me, I do want to take a sidestep here, kind of go off something you said. You root for chaos and hope and pray that's not your team at the expense of it, right? But you got to remember, good times, there's going to be times that will humble you as well, big time. That's just sports, baseball, football. I mean, that's how it is. And I thought it was interesting, right? You were talking about Vanderbilt, and I agree with you. Vanderbilt, I thought, was deserving of the number 1 overall seed. Really, really good team. Had Tennessee's number this year. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Had Tennessee's number. But it was, they haven't been to a super regional in the last 4 or 5 years, right? And, it was after the SEC tournament loss where they just spanked Tennessee, where it was Riley Nelson, I think that's his name, and he got up there and, he's feeling it, and that's fine. I have no issue with it, but he's up there saying, like, we hate them, rivals, that's all great. He's like, if you're a prospect and being recruited by the 2 schools, I think the easy decision, and hadn't been to a super in 4 years, can't even get to your regional final, clearly the second best team in the state of Tennessee. Vanderbilt is not what Vanderbilt used to be in baseball, still a great program. But like it humbles you. A week later, you're not even playing on Sundays. So whatever it is. So I think it's interesting how this game can giveth and taketh away in a hurry. Because again, look at Tennessee and Arkansas, the back half of the league schedule. They were not playing very good baseball. And then one of those 2 teams are guaranteed to go to Omaha, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, it's one of those things where we want guys to show emotion and we love that from a content perspective, right?
Oh, yeah.
You and I love the clips, we love the post game comments, but yeah, there's two types of people in this game, kind of like life too, but two types of people in this game: those who are humbled and those who are about to be. So you're either going to be humble or you're going to get humbled. So is that why they lost? They're regional. No. I don't know, but it is ironic how the baseball gods tend to find you and it comments like that. Typically it's a rare occurrence. They don't come back and bite you in the rear end. And again, it's a long, bitter off season for the folks in Nashville. And you mentioned the last 4 or 5 years not making a super. It's interesting because if we think about that time frame, as Tennessee baseball has risen to the mountaintop, Vanderbilt baseball has sort of fallen. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. I think this season being the number 1 overall national seed and the season they had was really important to show that, hey, Vandy is still a player. They're still a factor in the SEC and a big-time player. But you know as well as I do too, Eric, on that same token, that it's all about what you do in the postseason. So,
yep.
You can be the number 1 overall national seed all you want. Look at the 2 regular seasons. Vandy had a better regular season than Tennessee, and they beat them in the regular season. But if Tennessee ends up in Omaha, do we really think anybody's going to be talking about that when we talk back about the 2025 season that was? So it's what it comes down to, man. You want a team that's clutch and plays well in June. And as I've discussed, this is when Tennessee loves to play, and they play their best baseball typically this time of year.
Yeah, certainly. That discussion was more about this being a Tennessee podcast. We're going to dunk on Vanderbilt. Obviously, that's not why Vanderbilt lost, but it does, kind of humble you. But again, it's like, anybody going to talk about Michigan beating Ohio State? No, because Ohio State won the whole daggone thing. Like no one's gonna talk about that, right? All right, let's shift gears here. Let's talk Arkansas, Tennessee, man. Arkansas, in your opinion, what is it that makes this team so well? For me, it's that lineup. That lineup is the best lineup in the country, in my opinion. I mean, they're up and down. There's not an easy out. Tennessee saw that last month. Does Tennessee's pitching have enough to combat this Arkansas lineup? Because the first time around, it was advantage Arkansas, and it wasn't really close.
I think they do. When you talk about what you like about Arkansas, I mean, where do you start? I mean, there's a lot to like. And I think that, and I've mentioned many times, I said multiple times this season, I felt like they were the most complete team in the conference and maybe even the entire country. It's hard to really find the weaknesses with them. Not saying they don't have any, because this is baseball and everybody's got deficiencies somewhere. But, I mean, from starting pitching to a really, really deep bullpen, I mean, talking to them, they feel good about 9 or 10 guys they can turn to after their starters. The lineup you mentioned, 1 through 9, there's not really an easy out in that lineup. They've got one of the most legendary coaches in college baseball. Granted, he doesn't have that national title, but you ask anybody about Dave Van Horn, and, Tony Vitello will tell you about Dave Van Horn, the amount of respect he has for him. They play good defense. I mean, they're a fundamentally sound club. They've got a great home field environment. Like, they check all the boxes of a team that you would say, yep, that's an Omaha caliber club. But, you remember just a few weeks ago, Tennessee went in there and took game 1 from them and beat them. And I know Tennessee fans probably look back at that series as like, man, like that's one we'd love to have back, and we really feel like we should have won it. And I talked to you about this too. I think from the Arkansas perspective, they're confident because they're like, hey, we lost game 1 and still won the series. Yeah. So both sides are coming in with their own confidence level. Arkansas is a fantastic team, but Tennessee's got a pretty darn good ball club too, especially when they're clicking. I think we saw that over the weekend. And, I think from a Tennessee perspective, you feel confident that Liam Doyle's not going to pitch that poorly again. You feel confident that that'll be the case. So I think for Tennessee, you and I talked previously, pitching is going to be key. It's at a premium this time of year, but I think Tennessee's got to swing it. I do, because I think Arkansas's lineup, I just think they're too good to think you're going to go out there and beat them 2-1, 3-2 in 2 or 3 games. You're going to have to swing the bats. Your pitching controls your floor. I think your offense controls your ceiling when it comes to the game of baseball. And I think that's why, like, we saw Vandy get eliminated, at Texas getting eliminated. So it's going to be a fun weekend. It's really a coin flip. I mean, no matter who you pick, I don't think it's a bad pick. But, yeah, Arkansas is for real. They're as complete as any. Not that they can't be beat, obviously, but they're a complete team top to bottom.
Yeah, I think my key to the series is pitching, simply because the offense was more than good enough the last time these two teams went at it. But it's not like a 2-1, 3-1. It's can Tennessee get 6 outs to preserve a 7-5 win? Who's going to have that Liam Doyle performance out of the bullpen? It won't be him. But who's going to have that Liam Doyle performance out of the bullpen that's going to lock things down? because I think it's going to be those type of games. But for me, you tell me if I'm wrong, there's no pressure on Tennessee, okay? You already won your natty, okay? You were the laughingstock of college baseball the back half of the SEC schedule. You barely hosted a regional. You won all that. If you lose in supers, it's like, okay, well, considering where you were a month ago, pretty good season, right? Whereas, you take all that, and of course, there's always expectations and all that, I get all that. But then you look at Arkansas, the Omaha Hogs, who have never won a College World Series, the disasters at home in postseason play. I think Arkansas is a great baseball team, but I do know the struggles that program has this time of the year at home or just in postseason in general. For a program that calls themselves the Omaha Hogs, is all the pressure on Arkansas this weekend with Tennessee in town?
I think it's a great point you bring up, Eric, and we talked about this going into the regionals. I think one of the greatest benefits for Arkansas is that, so many of these pieces that they're depending on or have depended on all season, they weren't on those previous year's teams, and that was one of the reasons, because I was nervous going into the regionals with them just because, we've seen it the last 2 years prior. They hadn't gotten out of their own regional, and there's just it's a pressure cooker. Like you said, there's so much pressure to be the first team to win it all and to get back to Omaha. You mentioned the Omaha Hogs slogan, if you will. I don't know that this team is necessarily carrying the burdens of previous years past. So there's pressure. I definitely agree with you. There's more pressure on Arkansas. I don't know if this Arkansas team necessarily, if they're going to kind of take that from the fans' perspective. Oh my goodness. They'll be fired up, but if things start going south early, you won't be able to hear a pin drop in that building. There is that. It's like talking to them even last week, there was a feeling going in the regional. Again, they dominated and they took care of business, but there's a feeling amongst Hogs fans now of it's not let's go out there and attack and screw it and let's go win. It's please, dear God, let's not mess this up. They're already talking about the field and the way it shakes out. This has got to be our year. So I definitely think Tennessee, from a perspective of, I agree with you, they can, and there's pressure, obviously. They're competitors. They all want to win. But, yeah, you can definitely look at it hey, guys, we won our natty last year. We're kind of a little bit playing with house money. If nothing else, I think Tennessee can go out there a little bit more of an effort mentality and just let it hang and play loose. And, hey, let's see where the chips fall. I think they play their best when they're loose too, honestly. So I think they can go out there and kind of just roll the dice, see what happens. And it is Arkansas. Hey, you're the home team. You're favored if you keep up with such things. You're technically supposed to win, quote unquote. You haven't been to Omaha in multiple years. You've never won a national title. There's all these things that are in the back of their mind. So I do agree with you, Eric. Do we make a little bit too much of that going into weekends like this? Maybe so, but then again, maybe we don't, because baseball is a game of it's already hard enough, and then you add pressure. Why do you think we saw some uncharacteristic things from some ball clubs last weekend? It's because this time of year the pressure ramps up. And I think if you're Tennessee, you can kind of look at that dude, we play better. Like you said, on the road, we play better under the pressure. We play better when everything's on the line. Can Arkansas match that and even exceed that? They're going to have to do it if they're going to beat Tennessee. And on the flip side, I would say Tennessee's going to have to play their best brand of baseball, similar to what they did last week, and if they're going to go into the hog pen and take this series. But, yes, absolutely back to your original point, I think there's more pressure on Arkansas because of what they have not accomplished from a program and an overarching program perspective. Yeah. And even if those guys on that roster, it's hey, I wasn't on those teams. It doesn't apply to me. They're hearing about it all week. It's in the back of their minds. So, again, it's going to make for a wacky series, but I definitely think, Eric, Tennessee can go out there and just let it fly and see what happens.
Just like Tennessee needs to, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just, go out there and not give an F. You can bill me later. I'm going to stretch this to 16 minutes. Give me one player. It can be, in the lineup, on the mound. It can be Liam Doyle. It would probably be Liam Doyle for Tennessee. Give me one player on both sides that for that said team to win, this guy's got to show out, have a Herculean effort. It's got to continue doing what it's doing. The key to the pick to click, if you will, one player for Arkansas, one player for Tennessee.
For Tennessee, Eric, I'm going to go the low-hanging fruit and say Andrew Fisher. We talked about him. He's the spark plug. He's kind of emerged as we asked ourselves, who's the leader of the ball club? he has become that guy for them. I mean, you saw it in the regional. You heard him cry out to the fan base, hey, we need twice as loud tomorrow night. Like, come out, bring everybody you got with you. Then he backs it up on the field, and he's going crazy around in the bases. And, I mean, he is the heartbeat, I feel like. And, just from what I've seen, he feels like the heartbeat of this Tennessee baseball team, really, truly. Obviously, Liam Doyle's important, and Marcus Phillips and so many of the other guys, but it starts with Andrew Fisher offensively, and like I told you, I think they're going to have to swing it at a pretty high level if they're going to go into Fayetteville and win. For the Arkansas perspective, there's a couple different guys. I think I'm going to go Zach Root for them. Their game one starter, their ace. I think if Arkansas is going to get to where they want to get, and Zach Root, the reason I mentioned him, he's been very up and down. Like, as good as he's been, and I know he's a first-team All-SEC guy, which that's a whole separate conversation. We could have a debate. He's been up and down at times. He was very good last weekend, granted, against North Dakota State. But, listen, Arkansas got away with it last time, losing game one. I don't think they get away with it again. I don't see it. Because if it's, and we'll see who Tennessee pitches, but especially if it's Liam Doyle again in a game two and they got a chance to win the series, he's not going to throw that poorly again. Like, I don't see it. So I think game one for Arkansas is massive. Zach Root, you talk to them, when he's good, he's one of the best in the country. When he's not, it can get pretty shaky. And I think the Vols, if you can jump on him early, jump on him in game one, put that pressure on him, like you said, Eric, it brings back all these previous nightmares that they feel like will come to reality. And you really talk about the pressure being on. Arkansas gets down 0-1. So I go Andrew Fisher for Tennessee. I'll go Zach Root for Arkansas.
Like it. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered. When are you going to give your prediction? I'm not going to ask you to do it now because I know you probably have some content scheduled for that. When are you going to give your prediction on the series, and what more can we look forward to this week heading into Super Regional action?
Yeah, so we'll drop it on Thursday, probably Thursday morning before we go live for the Wind-Up, which is our bi-weekly show talking SEC and college baseball. So you can check that out. Again, that's at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. But we'll talk all the supers on that show, and we'll obviously be covering it throughout the weekend. We'll probably do some more live stream watch-along stuff. I don't have exactly when we'll sit down. Maybe Saturday when all the games are going on. But, I'm like I told you, Eric, off air, I've been going back and forth. I think there's compelling reasons and compelling arguments to pick either side. But, man, it sure is hard to pick against Tony Vitello and the Vols this time of year. So it's I'm probably going to spend all Wednesday night kind of scratching my head trying to figure a picker. Maybe I'll just flip a coin 10 times and see which one it lands on and go from there. But can't wait, man. I appreciate you having me on, Eric. You're one of the best in the business, and certainly I will not be upset if I am seeing Tennessee back in Omaha, because a week from today we'll be on the road heading back to the Promised Land. So going to be a lot of fun.
Going to be a great weekend, man. Chris, as always, man, appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, Eric, appreciate you.
Enjoyed my conversation with SEC Unfiltered's Chris Phillips. Give his show a look today. I think I'm on it as well. We did a little bit of a home and home. Love doing home and homes. A whole lot of fun. And I love the conversation about Tennessee baseball heading into the 5th straight Super Regional, 7th in program history. 2 wins away for all the struggles, all the heartache, all the frustrations that this season has presented at times. 2 wins away from the greatest show on dirt. How about that? We'll see what happens this weekend in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm going to be down there. Looking forward to that. We'll recap all the action and so much more right here on Locked On Vols. Plus, continue our conversation on how to fix the offense. How do you fix the offense for Tennessee football in 2025? I'm going to tell you a couple of big pointers in that regard. We talked about it in segment 1, explosive plays, red zone efficiency. Tomorrow, got to win on the road. Okay, got to cut down on penalties. And so much more. That's coming up next on tomorrow's Locked On Vols. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody.